Welcome to our brand new series. We're going to be busting down the doors of jargon when it comes to branding and engagement language. We will explore where these words come from and why they thought they were needed. We might not do one every week, but as the need comes up. If you do have any words you'd like us to look at, then do let us know in the comments, and you can keep up to date with our videos by subscribing and pinging the notice bell. This week we're going to be talking about storytelling and story living. And we're going to be asking whether storytelling is outdated or is story living just a fancy new buzzword. As branding evolves, so does its language. But with every new term, we have to ask, does it add value or does it just create noise? Today we're diving into these two terms, story living and storytelling, to explore their differences, understanding why story living has gained traction, and ultimately ask the big question, do we even need these distinctions? After all, hasn't storytelling always been about creating shared spaces where people come together and connect? Let's start by defining the terms. Storytelling is pretty much the bedrock of society, and I would argue it is only really technology that has moved us away from the very nature of storytelling as a communal experience that immersed and co-created narratives. While we can never be 100% sure, our understanding of storytelling starts around a campfire, with stories being told to help develop communities and fables to warn of dangers and opportunities. These stories later moved on to cave walls and then into language and letters, and then to the printed word and so on. Each iteration of storytelling has moved the audience further away from that original campfire experience. We could say that the very latest technologies are moving the dial the other way, but there is still no way to truly be sat at a campfire hearing those stories. When it comes to branding, storytelling is right there in the center. It has allowed them to communicate their narratives and to connect emotionally with their audiences. Think of campaigns that have made you laugh, cry, or feel inspired. They're all examples of storytelling done well for brands. Story living, on the other hand, is a newer concept. It's positioned as the next step in the evolution of brand narratives. Instead of just telling stories, brands create immersive experiences where customers actively participate. In theory, it's not just about what a brand says, it's about what the customers do, feel, and I think crucially co-create with the brand. At first glance, the shift sounds exciting. Who wouldn't want to go from a passive listener to an active participant? But let's dig deeper into why story living emerged and whether it truly fills a gap left by storytelling. Proponents of story living argue that traditional storytelling is inherently one-sided. The idea is that brands broadcast their message while customers merely receive it. In today's collaborative world, this dynamic feels outdated. Enter story living, which invites customers to co-author the narrative. An example would be IKEA. It doesn't just sell furniture, it creates community events where people can share ideas and experiences, effectively living the brand's values of creativity and togetherness. Or Patagonia's environmental activism campaigns. It's not about telling a story about sustainability, they also encourage customers to take action, from repairing old gear to participating in cleanup efforts. The appeal of story living is clear. It shifts power dynamics. It's no longer about what the brand says, it's about what the customer experiences and contributes. But here's the thing, was storytelling ever truly one-sided? Haven't the best stories always been collaborative? When a brand tells a story, the audience doesn't just passively absorb it. They interpret it, bring their own emotions to it, and often act on it in ways the brand might never predict. In gaming, this is called froth. When we game either in the physical or digital world, we retell stories in the first person. We make our own stories that feel rich and emboldened by the agency of that experience. We can think about fan cultures like Star Wars as an example. It isn't just the series of films, it's a shared universe co-created by its fans. From fan fiction to cosplay, audiences have always added layers to the story, making it richer and more meaningful for them and others. Or what about campaigns like Nike's Just Do It? It doesn't just tell you to chase your dreams, it inspires you to live them. Isn't that story living in a sense? The line between storytelling and story living isn't as clear-cut as it might seem. In reality, storytelling has always had elements of participation and collaboration. The best stories invite the audience in to step into the narrative and make it their own. This brings us to the heart of the issue. Do we really need both terms? Or is Storyliving just jargon that overcomplicates something fundamental? There's no doubt that branding evolves alongside culture and technology. New terms can help capture emerging trends, like the rise of immersive experiences, or the growing demand for customer collaboration. But at what point do we risk muddying the waters? When do we start creating terms for the sake of it, rather than focusing on what truly matters, and that's engaging with people in meaningful ways? It's worth questioning whether Storyliving fixes a gap or simply reframes what storytelling has always been about. Are we solving a problem, or are we renaming the solution to make it sound more innovative? Here's the takeaway. Whether you call it storytelling or storyliving, the goal remains the same. Great branding creates stories that people care about, want to be part of, and ultimately make their own. Instead of debating the terminology, let's focus on the principles. Are you creating narratives that resonate? Are you inviting people to join in? And most importantly, are you building a shared space where connections can flourish? Maybe the next evolution isn't about new terms, but maybe about revisiting old ones. Because at its core, storytelling has always been more than telling. It's about sharing, connecting, and creating together. So do we need storyliving? Maybe not. But we do need stories that live in the hearts and actions of the people we share with them. And isn't that what great branding has always been about? But what do you think? Is there a need for both terms? Do let us know in the comments. Thanks again for watching. We make videos every week about brands and trends. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.